I oversee Fresh AI and have helped build one of the world's first AI platforms for the drive-through in the QSR industry. Very excited to just be talking with you today about a conversation that you and I both had uh, about what does it look like to build technology, accessible technology in a world with AI that is just rapidly changing. So, as you know, I oversee AI in the drive-through for a really big fast food company. And we've been pioneering, what does it look like to put this technology in fast food drive-throughs around the country? And, you and I have had some really great conversations about how do you build agents? Like, what does that look like if you have a stutter or if you have, other needs, and how do we make it work? And like, what is that business opportunity there? And I think there's a lot here that anybody that's building platforms, whether it's for a drive-through or not, can learn about, just serving customers and users better.
I'm Travis. I'm a licensed speech therapist. I also stutter. And my goal recently with Will has been working out ways to improve how AI can better recognize, understand, and predict speech differences because w- 1% of the population stutters, but nearly 10% of the population has a communication difference. So that is tens of millions of people just in the United States that are being overlooked because we do things a little bit differently. And most tech is designed for the masses. So hopefully we can make some improvements there so it's more accessible for more people.
For those of us that are building these platforms, I think we're all trying to figure out like what do we do with this technology? But like, what's the thing that's top of mind that's like, I wish everyone could get this.
One of my main design tips for this tech is can your tech uh, determine what is a hesitation versus what is intentional.
Mhm. And there's, like I've learned even in our conversations, like there are some indicators. For example, if you're repeating vowels or consonants, there's a long repetition of those. That's a sign right there that agents say, hold up, wait a minute, let's give them a moment. And if that happens once or twice, well, that's another indicator of maybe we should treat this order just a little bit different, or we should treat this conversation just a little bit different. Um, to I almost view it as like padding of like how do we make this a softer, less abruptive experience for you in that moment.
This one actually isn't just for the tech side, but it's for just human interactions too, and that's that patience is key. Um, when people have a communication difference, they usually will either speak a little differently, uh, or they will take a little longer. And what most people don't get when we're just talking with each other is that silence is fine. we don't always need something to happen right away. It feels like we're in a bigger hurry than we really are. And so my words usually just take a few extra seconds, but that doesn't mean that what I have to say is any less valuable. So similarly for the speech recognition in tech is sometimes my words or sounds will repeat. Sometimes they may get stuck. And recognition there is, oh, when we speak with an AI bot, those pauses are are usually signals that they should jump in. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm done talking. I may be still working on what I'm saying, but just I'm getting stuck. Or maybe I'm repeating sounds, but the AI thinks that this is some type of error, and it jumps in to correct me. So the biggest thing is patience, where uh, if we can just delay when you jump in, then that may be the difference of me being stuck on my word to when I can finally get it out. Because right now, when I use speech tech, it feels like a test because I need to get my words out quickly and smoothly to be understood. And that does not always happen for me.
I think this is one of the reasons I've loved this conversation with you because I was obviously in fast food and in the drive-through, our goal is like we want to get it's literally in the name. We want customers to go through as quickly as they can.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I've learned, both from our conversations, but then just as we've built Fresh AI, is that speed is not always the right answer. Like whether it's, hey, we need to put in a delay so that the agent's not interrupting if it notices a gap, or it's just more context aware so it knows, oh, I should interject here. Oh no, this person needs a little bit more time. But like designing for more of those edge cases, I've found actually helps us serve all of our customers and all of our clients better because whether it's a mom that's like stressed out in the back seat and sorry, kids are in the back seat and mom's really stressed and she's like, "Ah, I just need a moment to like gather my thoughts," or to your point, like it just takes a little bit longer to get what you're thinking out. um, Having those different contexts in mind help us serve those customers better, which I think long term, it probably builds that brand loyalty. Like you're going to come back to, that platform or to that business because you go, oh, they actually cared about me. It wasn't just a transaction.
Yeah, I mean, we all have had experience where we've tried doing something or using a product where it either wasn't intuitive to us, or just somewhere there the use was not smooth, and that's not fun, and we're less likely to continue using that thing if it doesn't work well for us. So with speech tech, I never use my speech recognition on my phone. Uh,
Mm.
or voice commands because it's just not accurate for how I speak.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think like the way that I see it is there's just this overarching, I mean, I myself am so new to this and I'm learning of like, oh, Travis, when you go to the drive-thru, like this is your experience. We've done a lot of research. Like as we built out Fresh AI, we now support Spanish and English. And we've learned so much just observing even just Spanish and English. Like, oh, these, if you go down to Miami, customers are going to order quite different than if you're up in New York or over in California. Um, the really cool thing with this technology, even with ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot or whatever the platform is, there's this new world that we get to be part of building. But in my mind, like you should just be able to pull up and, whether you want to order in Spanish or you need a little bit more time or you don't like bacon or, whatever your preference is, whatever your need is, the system can just help support you. Because one of the things that I found in doing this and working on other projects is like whenever you move that barrier and you remove that friction, customers are much happier, they're less frustrated, and again, like we said, like they're coming back. You're building that brand loyalty, and typically, like you're actually usually customers are spending more, which is and unfortunately, we have to have a business case for to drive a lot of this that we're building with AI. And one of the ones that's like stood out to me as we've talked was um, this concept like don't interrupt me, like I know what I'm trying to say, it just takes me a little bit longer to get there. Can you like help me learn a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I I know that when people try to guess my words for me, for example, their intent is to be helpful. Uh, cool, but I think what people kind of should recognize is this is a unique experience for you talking to me as a stutterer. For me, this is an everyday thing. You may be the 10th person that I've talked to this day that has guessed my words for me. And that gets really frustrating. So one thing that you just mentioned, you do, or we're doing, depending on your location, people order differently. So you're putting yourself in their shoes, trying to figure out what they will do and how they would react. And that's kind of what designers should do, and just humans in general, is recognize, oh, this person is a little different. This clearly is a typical thing for them. So what would I want if I were them and this was always happening to me? And usually you would not want someone jumping in and guessing your words for you, because really that's just interrupting them. And it does not feel good to be interrupted, because you start thinking, wow, well, what's the point in me talking if they'll just keep jumping in anyway?
Language is so complex and so difficult, and the way that customers speak. And so trying to build agents that are able to accommodate that is really, really. difficult. Um, but we identified, even just in talking to you, of, oh, there are certain patterns. We might not be able to catch every time. But if a customer is not responding and they didn't respond the second or third time when they're saying like, hey, can I take your order? That maybe it's a sign that they need just a little bit more time, or maybe we should just add a little bit more delay. Um, so I feel like there's like these really functional things that we can do and start to identify to start to help. I don't know that we'll, at least in a short period, I don't know that we're going to fully um, figure out a way to to help everyone, but we can at least start. And so I feel like there's like these fundamental things, and I know that you've outlined a few of them of like, as you're building these voice or speech to text models, here's some things to look out for, repetition of syllables, things like that. Would love to hear more of your thoughts on like what are those like key fundamental things that you think are really important as we're designing these models and platforms.
Yeah, so one of the big ones is like it's common for people to talk really smoothly, really quickly, but not everyone does that. So designing for human pacing. Now, you mentioned that when I talk, I sometimes have these blocks or pauses. And when we've spoken in the past, one thing that you've shared with me is one struggle just with fluent speakers is that they often pause when they talk, or
Mhm.
they may say but different ums mean different things. Could you actually share a little bit about that first? Because find that fascinating.
Yeah, so and for those that aren't familiar, speech to text is, uh, typically we're typing and then we'll send that off to an agent. But in speech to text models that we're discussing here, I'm talking, it's transcribing that to text, and then it's sending that off to the model, to then be processed and sent back. But what we've seen is there's different ways that we use. Welcome to the restaurant. What can I get you? Let me get that double cheeseburger. And what that is doing is it's a our brains are using that to just let us catch up because we're trying to process that entire menu board. Or you're in the middle of a sentence and you're like, let me get a Coke. Actually, and so you're pivoting the thing that you want. So still very similar, but the way that we're using them and the intentions are different. So it can either mean I need a little bit more time, I'm pivoting in what I'm trying to say, or I'm confused. But we use ums and uhs, and there's this it's a cognitive load of like I'm trying to ease that so my brain can catch up with this action or this thing that I'm trying to do. And so, for example, if you use it at the beginning of an order or the beginning of a conversation, the agent probably should give you just a little bit more time of like, hey, don't bug in here. But if we're using it in the middle of a sentence, then we need to build these models that are smart enough to go, hey, don't submit this yet. This needs the entire context of this sentence for you to actually get that intent or that action that the customer or the user is intending. Because if you just say, give me and it sends it off, well, then you've missed the entire I'd like a double cheeseburger. And so you're not going to be able to, the agent's not going to respond correctly.
So, what are some other types of fallbacks that you've come up with for when someone is trying to communicate, but the AI is just not quite getting it?
Yeah, so there's what I mean to your point that you said at the very beginning, just patience. Like actually holding back the agent and saying, hold on, don't interject yet. Don't say anything yet. That is really, really powerful. Other times it's changing the words that we're using. Like maybe it's, maybe we need to just use different vocabulary to make it easier to be understood. Um, Questions, if it's not sure about what it just heard, can it come back and say, was this what you meant?
Mm.
And there's a couple of those tools that, at least in my case, that we've found really helpful. And we're still learning, like this is all very new for us, but these are sort of the things that we're thinking through. Um, even just understanding like, all right, what is the average number of times that a customer needs to, after the second time of requesting or the giving indicators of needing more time. Oh, this should change the agent's behavior. And it's in these small little details and these small little nuances that you get these alarms that say, "Oh, do this, don't do that." What has your experience been? Like I'm sure, like the rest of the world, you're figuring out, all right, ChatGPT, Gemini. You said that you don't really use like the auto captions and things like that, but what has been your experience using like voice mode on ChatGPT? Because I use that all the time. I can't imagine not being able to use that. Like, what has that experience been like for you?
It has been frustrating. So not just chat GPT, but just voice recognition software. It it totally varies where there may be some times that it comprehends me very accurately and sometimes it really misses. Sometimes I'm just misunderstood. Sometimes I get cut off because I'm stuttering for too long. The software thinks that I'm done talking, but
Mm.
also I haven't finished whatever command I was making too, so it thinks that I'm done, so it jumps in, but it's confused as to how to jump in because there was no real message that I gave it. So currently, it is very frustrating, and hopefully we can improve that soon.
Yeah, that's why I love conversations like these because you just never know. Like these are the things that a little as you're talking, I'm like, maybe if there was some sort of code or something like, at the very beginning of that experience where you could say, assistance or something,
Yes.
where it just changes and goes, oh, this is the mode that I need to be listening with right now. What's fascinating to me as we've built out like our platform and as we've scaled it across the US, um, no two customers interact with the agents the same. There's similarities, but there's very different. One example is customers that are ordering English tend to use the proper names things, and so they'll actually say like the actual name of a burger. Um, Customers in Spanish typically tend to order, they'll describe the thing more than actually using the name. And so like just that use of language and the thousands and sometimes millions of different words that you can use to describe a thing. I don't know. It's just fascinating to me that like we're talking about this one use case, but really like again as we pay attention to these more edge cases, you're becoming more inclusive and more accessible for everybody because again, no two customers are using this the same. I think of like my uncle who has Parkinson's and like much of what you're describing, I think would help him be able to use these tools that would be really, really beneficial um, if we could build for them.
Yeah, yeah, and so that just reminds me when we first met. One of my recommendations was uh, if if there was a, a a button on either the mobile app uh, or at the drive-through window just to share, hey, I may take longer. I may need
Mm.
more assistance, and that could be helpful because we recognize that like with your job, it's still fast food, and fast is part of the name. You need people to to get in and out very quickly. And I suspect that part of the frustration of the employees when they start talking with someone that has a communication difference is that the employee was not expecting it, and so
Mhm.
it throws them off. And so just like giving them a little warning of, hey, this will happen. Let's prep you here.
Mhm.
You don't have to rush me as fast as you typically would.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that's been cool as we've built out our platform is seeing the change in how crew members, like because they're listening to, would you like to add a large drink to that, like over and over and over. And if you listen to the crew members after they've been interacting with the agent for some time, you see differences in like the way that they're interacting with customers, for the better. And y- one of the things that I love about like what you just said is we can actually program these agents and these tools to become much more assistive and much more helpful and much more patient. And an unintended consequence of that, maybe an intended consequence, to your point, is that actually has this like domino effect on, if I'm listening to you place that order, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, I never thought maybe I should just let Travis order and not interrupt, like, because that's my natural inclination, because I'm trying to be helpful. And so it's just a fascinating thing of like in trying to help you, we also can help the people that surround these technologies to also change behavior, and just even awareness for the better.
Yeah, yeah, just kind of like a cultural shift of speed
Mhm.
does not necessarily mean that things were e e efficient,
Mhm.
because there's been so many times when I've ordered food or just spoken with people in general where I'm getting stuck, and then they jump in and guess my words for me. They may guess wrong, and and that just takes longer because now I need to tell them no, and and then go back to what I was saying, but then they jump in again, and then I take time and say no. Um, or sometimes they guess right, but it can still take longer because you're still taking time to say what your guess is, which is meaning that I'm not talking at that point. And maybe while you were guessing, I would have been able to get my words out in the first place.
Yeah, and I think like that friction causes you like obviously there's frustration because you're like, get me out of the situation. But then it also, again, because you're like, get me out of the situation, like you're probably not going to put that extra thing in your cart, or I mean, literally. like I know my mindset when I'm in, different but similar situations is like, just get me out of here. Like I just give me that thing and let me go. And so bad for the business, bad for the customer. One of the things that I firmly believe, like as I'm thinking through, like what does it look like to build these products? Like what does the world look like with artificial intelligence and robotics and just all the technologies that are coming out? Like the fundamentals still stay the same. It's like care about people, it's relationships, it's doing good and having consistent quality products. And if you're providing value consistently, people are going to keep coming back. And I think that's like what you're hitting at of like, you know what, like if I'd have just like, sat there and just been quiet and let you order and not interrupted you, or we took the time, we took the resources to build the right platform that's most accessible to, doesn't matter if you speak Spanish or Italian or, or you have a stutter, whatever, it just works. There's less friction for you and there's much more of a chance that you're going to come back because again, that was much easier than going to that store or that platform that's not yours.
Yeah, like there's been so many times when, for example, my car needed a, an oil change, and I
Mm,
would call up a couple different shops to get quotes on what that would cost. And there were some shops that would charge less, but during that phone call, they would rush me, they would cut me off, and it just was not a pleasant experience for me. And so I would choose a place that cost a little more, but they treated me decently. And I think like we're all humans. That's still how we work. We care more about the connection sometimes than getting the best price.
mm. Yeah, couldn't agree more. So Travis, to close this out, uh, what is your favorite fast food item? Like, where are you going? What are you ordering? No need to be biased here, just because of who I work for. What are you ordering?
Uh, oh no. Wendy's is my go-to. They, in my opinion, have the best fries. Their barbecue sauce is the best, and anyone that watches my content usually would know that I always get barbecue sauce with my fries. So a spicy chicken sandwich. Oh, okay. Well, I will say two spicy chicken sandwiches and a fry and barbecue sauce is my preference.
That is a solid order. I'm a weirdo. I will. Most people take their chicken or the French fries and a frosty, and that's what they dip in. My go-to order is chicken nuggets and a chocolate frosty. Like can't beat it. So, it's a little out there, but don't knock until you try it. Well, Travis, I'm really excited to keep these conversations going, like, as we're learning and growing and figuring out like what does this new world look like with AI. I'm excited to keep having these conversations, keep sharing that with, the world. Would definitely recommend like if you haven't gone and watched your content for Travis, like highly recommend it. Just some really, really valuable stuff there. And I love what you're doing. Keep up the great work. Excited to see where this goes in the future.
Love it. Thanks. And I'm I'm really stoked that you reached out a couple of months back, so we could keep collaborating on this topic. So hopefully, voice tech could include more voices.
Completely agree. Thanks, Travis.
Yeah.